You're running now for the Democratic nomination.
Right.
And it is your Democratic opponent and many Democratic voters who want to see those transcripts.
Let's set the same standard for everybody. When everybody does it, okay, I will do it.
We've been a little bit busy lately. You'll excuse us. But we will, Senator, we will get them out. Senator,
Well, you know, there are a lot of copy
Senator, when are you going to
around.
a very boring tax returns? No big money from the speeches, no major investments. Fortunately, I remain one of the poorer members of the United States Senate, and that's what that will show.
What a night, right? Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders talked plenty of policy last night, as you just saw there. One heated moment where they were talking about the transcripts and filing tax returns. They went in after each other pretty much from the beginning when this thing came out of the gate and right up until the end. After a long night of trading shots, the two skipped the traditional little handshake thing that often happens at the end there. They were off to shake hands with other people. I don't know how much you can read into that, but they weren't really having a great time together last night. Luis Miranda, Communications Director for the Democratic National Committee, joins us now. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me on.
This does not look like the pair that we saw early on when he was saying, oh, you know, don't bother Hillary about who cares about Hillary's emails? We're looking at a whole different picture now.
Well, it was definitely exciting, and you expect that campaigns are going to get heated and are going to get more intense as they go down the final stretch, and we're down the final stretch. That was just to be expected. But what I think was good about it is that while it was fiery, they also talked a lot about substance. You know, they argued about certain key issues, as you pointed out, but they also talked about how do we grow the minimum wage? How do we make sure that we're
Is she vulnerable on that since you bring that up? Because she was in favor of raising it to $12. Last night she said she'd been a part of the fight for 15 since the beginning. Is she vulnerable on that?
From the party's perspective, we're happy they're having that debate because they're talking about an economic issue that's so important to working families that it's going to resonate with voters. And I think it'll ultimately help us that they're having that debate. And we see it as a very different debate than what we see on the Republican side, where they talked about the minimum wage as something horrible and as a disaster, and where they haven't really focused on the economy other than to say that they want to do tax cuts for the wealthy. We're talking about tax day today, and that's basically what the Republican plans are to do tax cuts for those at the very top and put us right back where we were.
I want to talk about what's going on between these two candidates, because they have to. One of them has to survive this process in order to become your standard bearer. This issue of the transcripts, they keep coming back to this. You know, why do you think she hasn't released them? I mean, why wouldn't she release them unless there's something in there that she doesn't want people to see?
Look, it's a campaign issue between the two campaigns. She addressed it. From the Democratic National Committee, we're neutral in the race because we have to facilitate the primary, so we don't handicap those specific disagreements between the candidates. What we focus on is that they had a substantive debate. They did talk about the issues in a lot of detail, and they showed that they understand the nuances, whether it's on foreign policy, the economy, education. They did do that, and so we're satisfied about that.
Let's take a look at the poll right now, because it's very tight. I mean, you know, we talk to political prognosticators all the time who think that they know how these things are. Nobody would have told you that that was going to look like 48-46. And I think the reason it got so testy last night is pretty obvious, because Hillary's got a real fight on her hands. Do you think it's I mean, Bernie Sanders could win, right? And you guys would support him if he did.
We're going to support whoever emerges as our nominee, and we're confident that this is healthy for the party. If you look at what's happened right now, Hillary Clinton has earned more votes than Donald Trump, and Bernie Sanders has earned more votes than John Kasich or Ted Cruz. And they've both raised a lot more money, including from low-dollar contributions, set records on that. So the reality is that this enthusiasm actually helps us as a party, because as they're also campaigning out there across the country, they're also building up the infrastructure, the contacts, the energizing voters that are going to be part of the general election.
So it's working that muscle of getting everybody out there, and you see a lot of people fired up. I mean, you look at it, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump have a lot in common in that respect. I mean, they are bringing people into this process that I don't think either party has seen before, so that's a good thing.
Well, and if the primary was just about the Republican primary right now, that wouldn't be great for us. I think it's been good and healthy that we're having a strong debate, and that, again, I think it's presenting voters with the opportunity to see the contrast, that we have candidates that are talking about economic issues and creating opportunity for every American. You don't see that on the Republican side, and while it got very testy last night. There was
talking a
no
lot
comparison of hand sizes. There wasn't a lot of the insults. So I think it was still a very good debate for us as Democrats.
All right. So in terms of this issue of, Bernie Sanders said he would release his taxes, which has become sort of not required, but it's become something that candidates do on both sides of the fence. And that's becoming sort of the quid pro quo for her to release these transcripts. Would you like to see them both do that so that there's a lot of transparency for your voters?
Well, look, as a party, we're all about transparency across the board, and I think that our candidates have been transparent. As Senator Clinton pointed out last night, she's released something like 30 years of tax returns. I'm sure Senator Sanders will do the same. He talked about his wife is working on them because they've obviously been a little bit busy. So I think both of them are committed to transparency, and ultimately we'll see that.
Are you concerned at this point about the FBI investigation into your lead candidate? Do you think it's going to be an issue?
Well, she's not the subject of the investigation, and I think what we're going to see is that as this plays out, this is a much bigger issue than her. I mean, if you're talking about the email servers, Scott Walker and Jeb Bush also have private email servers.
But they're not part of an ongoing investigation. So I'm just asking, how much of a concern is that investigation for you guys right now?
It isn't. It isn't. She's not
no
the subject.
concern at all.
She's not the subject of the investigation. And ultimately, what this is a reflection of is that the government needs to catch up to the internet age. And this is a process that's been unfolding just 15, 20 years. It's recent. Right. The OPM hack, the Sony hack, she can't get blamed for that. Those are things that just reflect the need for us to be serious about cybersecurity as a country.
That part is absolutely true. Luis, thank you very much. Good to see you this morning.
So much.
Thanks for coming to the studio.
My pleasure.